Hello and welcome to the Chatter Cave podcast, where we talk random crap as much as we can. It's not Hayden with me today. It's Connor again, Mr. Zenith.
Thank you. I am back.
Yes, you are back after a slight delay.
You would have been back yesterday for recording, but Discord was
broke.
down.
Yeah,
was it 4 hours it was down in total?
I don't know. Discord was down yesterday. It was meant to record last week. I had the dentist, so that was a no-go, and I was just like, so I was a no-go. But yeah, he's back, so I had to... Literally, I think this slot was meant to be the Hayden's episode, but then that had to be last week's. So you're back this week and next week, if all goes to plan. But anyway, obviously, yeah, Zenith, Mr. Zen, Connor, and obviously me, Drinking Thomas Hughes. I always, some reason, forget to do intros and some videos in terms of name dropping. Who are these people? I don't know.
I think we forgot us.
No, in some recently. I think it was mainly like Hayden's recordings. I just kept forgetting to say to her, "Oh yeah, don't forget you're gonna name drop both of us." So I've just been putting I've been having pop-ups pop underneath us with our names. I just keep forgetting to tell her. And then again, I'm the person who kept forgetting to hit the mic unmute button. She sat there for a minute doing an intro, and I went, "Hayden, stop! The mic's not on." There's literally one of the videos that goes out. I think it's Sunday after this, yeah. When we did the Quiz Attack on Titan, the first episode.
Oh yeah.
And it pretty much starts with me lying backwards, just in bits, laughing because I forgot to hit record. Well, sorry, I forgot to hit unmute. I hit record. I didn't hit unmute. I almost did it 2 or 3 times of that fucking session.
You almost did it early when I was like, "Are you going to talk?" Then you're like, "Oh, my mic's muted."
Yeah, but that's different. It's not in the recording, so it's fine. That's the problem with having a muting mic. You fucking have to be careful not to fucking mute yourself when you're not fucking when you need it. But anyway, so this is again topic we were gonna do last week when this thing got announced. But obviously the delay meant it's this week. So obviously last week was it? It was last week, wasn't it?
Pretty sure it was last week when it got announced. Well, when I saw it, it was last week anyway.
It was a Sunday, wasn't it?
It's the whole weekend because I was like lying in bed, like, what the hell?
Yeah, I think it was a Sunday. Or was it sad? Either way, obviously they announced the new Pokemon games, which is Scarlet and Violet, something like that.
Scarlet. Yeah, I think it's Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, obviously the next main entry after Sword and Shield, which is what brings us to this. Oh, lovely. Brings us to this topic, which is why the yearly releases, not just Pokemon, there's a few other games that are slate on this half. It's like why the yearly releases not putting more content into the game you've already got out. So obviously we'll start with Pokemon because it's fresh in our minds, brand new. Obviously, I instantly had this argument, and then you straight away agreed with me, and even Craig agreed with both of us.
I'm pretty sure I messaged you like, "What's this bullshit?" And then you was like, "I was thinking the same thing."
I messaged you like, "What have you seen this announcement?" And you're like, "Yes, they've literally just done this," and I was like, "Yeah, they've also just done this." And I remember putting in that group chat and bitching about it because I remember Alex and Hayden, I think, putting the images and that in the chat, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not really cool with this game. I mean, I'm still probably gonna buy it, but I have my issues with them releasing it." And I remember Craig going, I think it was in another chat without me in it, turning around to Alex going, "Why are me and Tom like mentally in sync on this?" Because yeah, he 100% agrees with us with the fact that Pokemon's literally just released a bunch of games, and then they're doing another game this year. So obviously, November last year was the release of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the remakes of Diamond and Pearl, obviously. January, very end, was the release of Pokemon Arceus. The next sort of big game, essentially, because it was a big game because it was completely different to... It had the core concept of Pokemon, but it was completely different to everything, because there was no gym battles, there was nothing like that. It was something brand new. It kind of reminded me like now when they did the stuff like the Pokemon Ranger and the dungeon ones, like it's still Pokemon, but it's something different. It kind of reminded me of those sort of ones. It's like a spin-off title because it's obviously Pokemon Legends, which is like their new sort of spin-offs they're doing and whatnot. So obviously that came out in January, and then straight away, like a couple of weeks later, not even a month later, I think it was. Actually, I think it was exactly maybe a month after the release of the game. Like, oh yeah, we've got 2 new brand new entries dropping this year, which is going to be November again, realistically, because that's Pokemon's usual release date is November. And as we obviously argued, is the fact that what is the fucking point in releasing it this year and not holding it back a year to maybe improve graphics, improve a lot of stuff about it? Because at the end of the day, they've got a game currently out that they could put DLC into this year. So if they want something to come out this year, they could put, add expansion to Arceus, and have that come out this year, just to put some more content into Arceus. I mean, I haven't finished it. I kind of gave up very early, but I mean, they could put so much effort into that game and then save this game with games for 2023, because then that's 2 years from obviously the last sort of November release. Yeah, they got one in here in Jan, but that's fine. Or even the following. I can't say I'm pushing it to 2024, but 2023 at least for a November release of a new game, not straight away after Arceus. Because when it's going, as I say, it's going to be November, isn't it? Realistically, we're looking at November.
I'm pretty sure it's not for sure.
So what? Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, July, August. About 10 months. 10 months between their games.
It just seems a bit. So obviously, I had Sun Shield and they had 2 massive DLCs, right?
Yeah,
I didn't like Sun Shield, to be honest. I really didn't like the formula of Sun Shield, but the DLCs were amazing, like the size and everything. If they were in something like Diamond and Pearl back in the day,
that's the thing.
Blow me away.
Because DLCs have never been a thing in Pokemon, have they? Really?
It's just like, oh, here's another version of the game.
That was the first time they've ever done it. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the first time they've ever gotten and threw a DLC out onto a game. Because Sword and Shield was 2019. So just before COVID. And then, obviously, the DLC came out.
One was in the end of 2020 and one 2021, wasn't it? Or did they release the same year?
They're both in 2020, I think. I think one was like springtime and one was a bit later in the year. I think it was like May and September, something like that. Just going off the top of my head. So obviously they spread it out across 2020, and then they're like, okay, 2021 is going to be a release of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So realistically, there is a 2-year gap, their usual formula of Pokemon, between their games, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with the 2-year gap because it gives you a lot more content for one game across 2 years. Obviously, before getting the new one. And okay, Arceus come out straight after, but at the end of the day, Brilliant Diamond and Pearl were remakes, so you can sort of get a new game out at the same time.
Yeah, this is the thing as well. It's like, even if they released, let's say, Sun Shield, and then 8 months later they released Diamond and Pearl remake, I can accept that because the story's already there, the gameplay mechanics are already there. Because what have they got to do other than update the graphics? So it's already built. It's fair enough. But when they've got Legend Arceus. Because I wasn't too bothered about releasing Diamond and Pearl remake and then Legend Arceus like a few months apart, because obviously one was an old title just remade, one was a brand new title, and now it's like, oh, here's another title coming in as well. It's like, well, why not add stuff to Legend Arceus? Like, how many people bought that game because it's something new? And now they're just this new game from what I've seen from like the trailer. It's just Legend Arceus, like the engine that's been built on, just brought into the modern time. Why couldn't they do a DLC which just brought Legend Arceus into like the modern Sinnoh? Well, obviously I think that's where they fucked up really, because obviously they went back to Sinnoh in the past, but Diamond and Pearl was in the present, so they couldn't really bring this whole new game into this because the story made no sense. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot. But bringing out a new game, I mean, graphically, even from the trailer, I know it says like, oh, not final. Like,
it's just going to basically.
I don't think it looks that good. Like, the only thing that I saw was like, oh, it's pretty cool. It was literally just Magnemite had a bit of a shiny gloss, and I was like, how hard is that going to be to do though? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's just a bit of a kick in the teeth. It's like how many people complain about stuff like FIFA coming out each year being the exact same game, and now Pokemon's doing it. I mean, Pokemon did change the formula all for years until basically Arceus, and now it's going to be like, okay, we're going to go back.
See, at the end of the day, I don't think we'd be having this complaint about them if they didn't do Arceus. Because obviously, if you think about it, between Sword and Shield and the new one, it's 3 years.
Yeah.
So if they throw out, say, Diamond and Pearl remakes as still 2021, I don't think we'd have this massive argument because you're like, again, it's just a remake, it's fine. You can get a remake out just to get the nostalgia feel. And here's the new game actually coming out. That's going to look completely different to the remake, because the remake obviously was designed to look like the DS game, just on a proper console. But obviously that wouldn't be too much of a kick in the teeth or kick in the balls. But the fact that it's literally okay, we've got a game. Year later, here's some DLC. First time ever. Oh, sweet. I know it's extra 30 quid, but it's still extra content to give you like some gap between the games. A year later, okay, we're doing the remakes. Oh, that's fine. We've been asking for remakes for fucking years. Get it out. Sweet. A couple of months later, here's a brand new title, completely different. Okay, there's a bit of closeness between it, but it's not too bad because it's literally those are remakes. This is a brand new game. 10 months later, we're bringing out a new game. Why? See, it's just stupid. As you say, FIFA, any sports game really. Any sports game does it. FIFA does it. WWE does it. But to be fair, we can let that go slide a bit because there's a massive gap between their games because literally 2019 was their last one. Wow. Fucking WWE and fucking Pokemon in sync at the releases at the moment then. 2019 was their last one. Then they did that really weird Battleground, whatever the fuck it was, which I think most people skipped. So in 2020, I think it was, or 2021, I've lost track of it. I didn't even bother with it. And then they got a new one obviously this year, so there's a 3-year gap, so you can't slate that too much at the moment. But if they go back to their formula of yearly releases, then you can slate it again. And let's say any other one, NBA, NFL, all the sports games do it. So there's the thing with them. Realistically, what they should really do with them is the fact that they could do 2-yearly releases and just do like a big update in the following year. Like as you say, the reason they did that is in case obviously players move teams or someone signs and whatnot. And obviously people are like, I want them on this team, blah blah blah. Well, first off,
how hard would that be to put an update?
Exactly, that shouldn't be too much of a big deal, really, should it? I mean, plus you can. Then again, it's been a long time since I played FIFA. I swear you can like just move players and set in like, the squads anyway.
I'm pretty sure you could back in the day. I don't know about now.
I don't know, but back in the day you could move someone to another team, so there is that. But I mean, how hard is it to put an update out? Like here's like a 40 gig update, just to up every ante of it while we're working on the new game for next year. You know what I mean? And obviously with wrestling, the only way they can like do it in terms of new wrestlers coming into the company would be just be DLC, which they do anyway. So they can always just like throw that in with the season pass, like a year one pass. So next year, or like a 2-year pass. So you're gonna get all the DLCs that's gonna come in the next like 6 months. And then next year we're gonna be throwing out some new stuff. So it's not difficult, is it really? I mean, fucking Ubisoft have even learnt from that mistakes of yearly releases. Look at Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, always on a yearly basis for how many years? Then obviously Syndicate came out and they stopped, didn't they, for like 2 years? Was it? Because Syndicate was
2 years.
Syndicate was 2015. They didn't release one in 2016 because they let the film come out instead. And then 2017 brought out Origins. Yeah, okay, the year after they just fucking milked it and just Odyssey straight away. But then it was two years before they did Valhalla. And heck, they haven't even announced a new game yet. They've literally put so much effort into making Valhalla the best fucking Assassin's Creed game possible. Because literally, when this podcast goes out, it's a day after they drop the fucking DLC, the 30-hour expansion of Ragnarok. Heck,
but that's not really a DLC, is it? A separate game?
It's near enough a separate game, but obviously you have to own...
My biggest problem with Ubisoft is they're like, it's good to suck like an extra so many years to make the game, but then as soon as they get a formula, they just stick with it. Like Far Cry since Far Cry 3 has not changed. Every Far Cry has been so similar to Far Cry 3. It's like the same thing over and over again. And it's like just stop and just
see, I agree with that. Obviously milking the same formula, but the bonus is the fact that there's massive yearly gaps between. It's not as if it's I don't know, 2019 I played this. Oh, 2020 the next one's out. Same basic game, just a different setting and everything. That's not too bad. But when you wait into like a 2 year or so gap and they've just upgraded the graphics and that, you can sort of let it slide a bit because there is a big gap. It's not as if they're going, okay, you're going to be paying like 90 quid this year. You're wanting to pay 90 quid next year for a different game entirely. So there's that sort of debate there with, okay, there is a big enough gap between games, so you can let that slide a bit, the hack and slash formula. But as I say, with Valhalla, literally, it was 2 years after Odyssey, so they put some effort into getting it out. Obviously, COVID happened, so that slowed it down and whatnot eventually. They did their 2 DLCs, which is part of their season pass. And then they've literally, a year later, like, okay, season pass is all done. You're going to have to pay like an extra 30 quid now, just for obviously for a 30-hour expansion. Which I'm okay with, to be fair. It's 30 hours. It's basically like a fucking another game entirely. So I'm okay with that. But that.
See, I just wish that the new Assassin's Creed wasn't called Assassin's Creed. I feel like they're so far apart from what Assassin's Creed was. Because, to be fair, you could call the newest one totally different. And people would be like, okay, he's got similarities to Assassin's Creed, but I don't think he's got like much to do with Assassin's Creed like he used to be. I think it's totally changed.
It's more in the modern times that it's linked very heavily to it more than anything, because it carries on the modern story realistically. That's the only sort of most connection to it. As you said, I do agree with that. So I mean, there is multiple. I feel like the last two especially have been far from Assassin's Creed of what you can get. I mean, up to Syndicate, Origins. Yeah, there was a few things where you're like, it's a bit weird. Assassin's doing this, like the pirates and during the Civil War and stuff like that. But it still had the Assassin's Creed vibe to it. It still had a lot of the stealth stuff and whatnot. But whereas obviously you look at Odyssey, it's actually before the Creed's even born. So what's the point there? It's nothing to do, but it's just fucking obviously Spartans fighting and whatnot, which is still cool, but it's just not Assassin's Creed. And obviously, as you say, Valhalla, it's Vikings. They're not really the stealthiest of bunch, are they? I mean, both the last two games have had like massive like battle like situations where you're just raiding and shit, or that's causing like a massive non-stealthy action, which isn't very. It's not Assassin's.
I think the thing for me in the new ones is I've seen your Assassin's Creed. You felt like Assassin used stealth, and then you got the new one where you're almost like superhuman. You like kick people across the fucking map. It's like, what? I don't understand why you've gone from like someone who could like. I mean, play Assassin's Creed 2, for example, like you go around stealth killing people and you could have like a sword to close combat, but you had to like parry and stuff. And obviously now it's a bit of a gimmick parrying because he just came to press this button. But back in the day, he's like, oh, like if you get caught, you have more of that like one-on-one battle. With this new one, you just go in and like axes kicking people.
You can throw axes, fucking spear people, call animals to do your bidding for you.
Like I just wish it was like just a separate little like just to call something different. Like they could keep the same formula, same open world, because I think they've got a good formula now. Like with like it's more of an RPG now than it was with levels and getting gear and stuff. Just call it something different. I think that's the thing with Ubisoft. Like, I think Ubisoft just keep to one thing. Once they get it in the head, it's like all the time.
That's the only thing though, is the fact that it's going to sell better as being the title Assassin's Creed. That's what sells it heavily. If you called it anything else, yeah, it might sell. People might be like, oh, that's pretty cool, but it's still not going to sell as much as it's going to sell it if you put the title Assassin's Creed. In a realistic sense.
I haven't played Assassin's Creed in ages, but there's only one title of Assassin's Creed that I'd buy if they remade it, and that'd be Black Flag. Because I've sat down and played bits of it, and I never really got the full like time to play it. But I know that one game, if I sat down and played it, I'd love it. Like the amount of times I watch videos, I'm like, this game looks amazing.
Black Flag's like my second favourite game in the series, realistically. Because don't get me wrong, I love the Ezio Saga, but Black Flag for me was the one that just really like 3 and 4 were the ones that drove me into it heavily.
I started with 2, and 2 was still my favourite.
I started with 1, but I mean, I played up to Revelations. Never really completed that game. I just ended up watching like fucking videos on the internet instead. You know, the classic.
It's like even Unity, like how much that got slammed. I still kind of enjoyed it, just for the fact that it's like I enjoyed the co-op aspect. The only thing that I fucking hated was the fact it's set in France, where everyone spoke in a British accent. What was that about?
But I mean, I very much enjoyed Unity. I really like the story. I like the characters, and I like the fact you could customize the character's outfit more heavily. Because before, it was more just you just like select outfits. You just have a certain outfit change and that whatnot. Whereas this one, you could actually choose like the actual different parts and like change the color scheme and whatnot. I think it was heavily more the color scheme, and then Syndicate took a step back and went back straight to just oh no, you're just using like the what the game's made for you already. But then Origins onwards has brought back the idea of no, you can actually design your character a bit better. But that's what I do like Ubisoft, the fact that they've gone away from yearly releases in favour of actually putting effort into like DLC and everything into their games, like basically making it worth your money. Because if you think about how expensive games are nowadays, what was the price of Valhalla? If you bought the season pass of Valhalla with the game, I think it was like 80 quid. If you buy the 30 quid DLC, I think it's about 28 quid actually, but I was going to say 30 quid just so I don't have to fucking do the maths. It's like 110 quid just for one game, for everything to do with the game. But that is over the course of 2 years. That isn't as bad as it sounds. When you say, it's 100, I paid 110 quid for this game, you'd be like, shit, that's expensive. But when you're like, but it's for all the content over the course of 2 years, it doesn't sound as bad as saying, I just spent 100 quid on this game, and they're releasing a brand new game in a couple of months. It's also 100 quid. That sounds bad because you're saying, within this year I spent 200 quid on on 2 games. Whereas I'm saying, I've spent half of that on one game, but I'm getting the exact same amount of content as 2 games. So that's why I do like Ubisoft a bit more now, because it's less yearly and more effort. So I mean, Far Cry. I know they did put a tide over with obviously that New Dawn crap, which is a massive flop. I mean, what was the actual gap between 5 and 6? Because 6 came out in 2021.
Okay, it was about a year and a half, 2 years maybe. But I don't think it was massive.
2018.
Maybe it's 3 years. I'm pretty sure Far Cry normally sticks to about 3 year gap, don't they?
Far Cry franchise. Let's have a look. My camera's going to go a bit dark, so my lights... I got no ring light. My ring light bust.
Why? What you done to it?
It just broke. I think the wire... Either the wire comes to the ball blew. So I'm kind of just utilising... I'm kind of using Google's really bright white screens just to get my lighting better. Okay, Far Cry... Far Cry came out in 2004, the original one. And it was actually 4 years before Far Cry 2. They just did a load of mini shit in between, like Far Cry Instincts, Evolution, Predator. But it was 4 years before they did 2. 4 years before they did 3. There's nothing in between 2 and 3. It was 4 years. There's only 2 year gap between 3 and 4. But the in between they did Blood Dragon. 2 years later was Primal. 2 years later was Far Cry 5, so there seems to be... Early on it was 4 year gap, then it kind of got cut to 2 years. Then a year later they did New Dawn, and 2 years later they did Far Cry 6, but between the main games, it was 3 years, which I'm okay with. Far Cry 5 and 6 basically feel like the exact same game in terms of what's going on, in terms of the weapon dynamics and whatnot. And the fact, but then again, all the games are the same. There's some evil dictator doing something. But I mean,
I feel like the formula since Far Cry 3 has been very samey. Obviously,
in terms of bosses and whatnot, it has been pretty much the exact same situation.
So yeah, Blood Dragon. Obviously, I know it was a little side DLC, same as Ragnarok is really. It's like a DLC but a separate game kind of thing. That was alright. And then they released Primal, and you thought, it's gonna be different, going back to the roots. And then they just basically made Far Cry 3 cavemen. It's the same thing. You got night vision and stuff. What the fuck? I think my biggest thing of Ubisoft as of late is they make these big single player games, but then you add microtransactions in. I mean, do you remember? Have you seen the meme where it's I think it might have been Far Cry, one of Assassin's Creed. He had a crossbow, and they removed it because people was that's not historically accurate for the time.
The original Assassin's Creed.
And now you can buy a fucking skin where you look like you got flames from your hands and stuff, and it's what's going on here?
The original Assassin's Creed Altair had a crossbow, and then they removed it because people complained that it was historically inaccurate that he'd have a crossbow. And
I
then
think they've just
obviously
moved so far away from the original vision that, like I said, I think you should be
it's
called something
just
different, but
it's not going to sell as good.
obviously sales, isn't it? I mean, it'd be like God of War, the new one coming out, or even the original, and then you got microtransactions to make Kratos look like he's got fucking fire hair and fire beard. It's like, why? Well, you know
Fire
what I
hair,
mean?
he's
There's no need.
bald.
You know what I mean? But DLC, you had hair.
Oh no,
DLC,
it looked like fucking Hades out of fucking Hercules. You know what I'm about with the blue fucking flames on his head?
oh
It
yeah.
looked like that. Oh, it'd be funny that would, though, to be fair. But yeah, obviously Ubisoft's big thing. Then again, it's the same with EA, with FIFA and WWE, NBA. These aren't EA properties, but you know what I mean. These sports games as well. They are heavily with microtransactions.
Oh,
That
EA are worse than anyone, man.
EA,
Yeah,
2K,
terrible.
and obviously Ubisoft are three of the big ones for doing microtransactions. I've never actually brought any thing for fun because I don't bother with microtransactions. It's like, hey, I'll buy DLC, but I won't fucking pay fucking £2 for a fucking a pack of cards or some shit in terms of FIFA. What's the fucking point? But I still don't mind the fact that there is these 3-4 year gaps between Ubisoft games as of late in terms of their big intellectual properties. Whereas, as we argue in Pokemon, is the fact that they used to have a big
Not
gap.
even a year. That's the biggest issue, man.
What was the hold on? What was the gap between Pokemon games? What was the gap between some of the old ones? Because then we can sort of just like judge a bit better. I mean,
Pretty sure it's about two years, maybe a year and a
okay,
half.
so
Okay.
yeah, the original one's in '96. Then it was 2 years before they did obviously Yellow, Red, and Blue. And it was only a year after they did fucking Gold and Silver. A year later they did Crystal. So there was literally like doing what they're
That's
doing
the
now.
same. That's like DLC. That's the same game. That's the problem. The Crystal's literally same as Gold and Silver. It's just like add-on. Same as
Was
Platinum to
it?
Diamond and Pearl.
Oh, was it? So basically, essentially, Crystal was platinum to. So the Gold and Silver basically Diamond and Pearl, whereas Crystal was platinum.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's the thing. It's still. This is kind of how they've gone now with this kind of constant release. It was 2 years then before they did Ruby and Sapphire, and then they seem to be going 2 years up until 2008 when they released Platinum. But even that, if you look at that, as you say, with the Gold and Silver, and the Crystal, you look at Diamond and Pearl and Platinum. There's actually a 2 year gap between the Diamond and Pearl releases and Platinum, so it's not as if they threw it out the following year. They, however, did after Platinum throw out Heart Gold and Soul Silver a year later, but that's okay because that was a remake. We're okay with the remakes coming out and then a main game because the year after Heart Gold and that was Black and White, which is fine because that Heart Gold and Soul Silver to tide you over in the middle was a remake, so that's not too bad of a release there. It's not as if it was like a fucking month later. Then you got 2 years later they released Black 2 and White 2, which is basically just Black and White again.
Yeah, just the extra little stuff like DLC again.
Yeah, and then obviously a year later they did X and Y, which okay, it's a bit close that, but as you say, Black 2 and White 2 is just basically Black and White, so it's not too much of a big deal. Then they did the remakes for Sapphire and Ruby straight after. So essentially, you got DLC remakes and a main game in the course of obviously 3 years, which isn't too bad. Then it's 2 years before Sun and Moon. A year after they did Ultra Sun and Moon, again, basically it's none of the same game, just a few extra shit. Then they did the remake a year later. But between actual Sun and Moon, as I say, if you don't count Ultra Sun and Moon and that, because they're basically the same as Sun and Moon, 6. There's 3 years before they did Sword and Shield. Then in 2020 they did the DLC. 2021 Diamond obviously remakes, and in 2022 the new ones, Arceus and the 2 fucking new games. So literally in the course of over the course of 4 years, they put out a game, DLCs for that game, a remake, a brand new entirely game that's not related to anything, and then the brand new IP. They put out 5 different things in the course of 4 years. That is just ridiculous, quick releases. I don't mind, as I say, I didn't mind then releasing, say, Sword and Shield year after doing the DLC, year after that doing the remakes, and the year after that doing Arceus. Yeah, okay, it's still 4, but obviously it's not as bad as them releasing essentially 4 games. I don't know how to think that. I don't know how to think that. My mind was going, Tommy, are you talking sense in your head here before you say it out loud? No, they're releasing 4 games since Sword and Shield, including Sword and Shield. They've released 4 games. I'm not too fussed with the DLC, that's fine, that's just an expansion. But they've released 4 games over the course of 4 years. That's basically 1 a year, near enough. And it's literally like they've gone, okay, Sword and Shield 2019, obviously Diamond and Pearl 2021, Arceus 2022. Shit, we didn't do one in 2020. Fuck it, throw another one out in 2022. Why? It's literally, you're looking at I'm literally looking at this list of release timetable, and there's some of these ones are in bulk, like the Platinum and Heart Gold and whatnot. That's fine, but there's still these massive gaps between them. And heck, like say for example, the black and white ones, when you do black 2 and white 2, you could always skip that in favour of like X and Y, and then obviously they've got the remake after, which isn't too bad. But where's this? You've got a brand new game. You've got 3 games basically that you wanted to get, because you've got 2 main titles, and then you got a fucking spin off completely. It's brand new. It's like literally since 2016, they've released them every year, every fucking year. Whereas before, there's literally like a blank space in between all the early shit, and literally since 2016, there's been Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Sword and Shield, the DLCs, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, Arceus, and fucking Scarlet and Violet. That's 8 things since 2016. That's like literally is the level of like Call of Duty, like once a year, which is another fucking one that we can slate for the fact that the once a year thing there is shit, for the fact that most of the Call of Duty games nowadays suck.
And then they've gone back on it now, and I think the next one comes out. Is it next year? They've actually delayed it fully, because I know they said something about one of them coming out, and then one's been delayed till 23.
No, I think the one that was meant to be out next year. I think the one that's meant to be out this year is still coming out, as far as I know.
Yeah,
I think the one next year has been delayed till the following year, so 2024. So
that makes sense, because obviously, just take a break and just stop putting out games every fucking year. Like
that's what I mean. COD's probably one of the biggest like mainstream games to do it, because as I say, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and that they've gone off doing that. They've actually gone to doing obviously like, because that's the thing that obviously Ubisoft have got that many different obviously properties that can keep jumping in between shit, whereas obviously Call of Duty is just slapping Call of Duty on like name on it. So 2003, 2005, 6, 7. Okay, since 2005, because there's actually a gap between Call of Duty 1 and 2. There's actually a gap in between some of these games here, Connor. So there's 1 in 5, 1 in 6, 1 in 7, 1 in 8, 1 in 9, 1 in 10, 1 in 11, 1 in 12, 1 in 13, 1 in 14, 1 in 15, 1 in 6. Sorry, 2 in 16, because there was a fucking remake.
Yeah.
1 in 17, 1 in 18, 1 in 19. Oh, the only one that didn't release one was 2020. That's because I did the Call of Duty 2 campaign remaster, Modern Warfare 2.
Didn't Warzone come out though? Which is like obviously free to play, but it's still like basically a new title.
Oh, what the fuck? It's not. I don't know why it's not. No, they did one in 2020. Cause fucking Cold War. Why is it not on this list?
No.
Literally, I'm looking at the aggregate review score, like the scoring from obviously what they put in, and for some reason they've skipped it entirely. What did they not? Did they not score that game entirely? Let's go. It didn't exist. Yeah, I just scrolled down. I was like, wait, no, I actually remember one in there because I brought it. Because I remember me and you playing it on stream multiple times. Yeah.
See, here's the thing. Right?
Yeah, Warzone did come out in 2020 as well.
Do you think that they're delaying it because of how bad the sales were with Vanguard, or do you think they're delaying it because Microsoft asked them to delay it?
That's a question.
Because I think even with the sales being shit, I still think they would have just released it. I don't think they would care, because the thing is, Call of Duty is just the name. How many times has the game come out and it's been the same fucking shit?
Exactly.
And it's just the name.
It's still sold either way. Even if it like sells a bit better than the last game, it's still sold Like, how much did Vanguard sell? Click this. So, I mean, you got your
I mean,
Vanguard for free.
I'm gonna say,
I'd
I
say
got
fucking
free.
crap. The sales are probably compared to other games because the fact
They
that
just gave it to me in a
they gave
DM on
you,
Twitter.
they were like, "Hey, want it free? Here you go."
Here's a free coffee. Enjoy. No, thank you.
Where's the sales? Trying to find the sales. No. I'm trying to see if I fucking can find out it tells you how much it's sold. I don't think it's going to tell me here.
Are we even going to release it?
I swear I read it somewhere. Call of Duty, not Vanguard Review, sales. It was lower than Black Ops apparently. And
It's got to be lower than Black Ops.
Cold War, I mean.
Wait, is Black Ops the Cold War, isn't it? Technically.
Yeah, it didn't say. But it says apparently it sold less than that. But yeah, that's again, it's the thing. It's like Assassin's Creed. You slap Call of Duty, like, people are still going to buy it, even if the sales are a bit wank compared to a previous game. It's still going to sell more copies than you'd think. Even if the last game was shit. So, I mean, I've lost my train of thought there, to be fair, what I was going to actually say, so I gave up on that statement there. I mean, you don't need a yearly release on COD. 2 yearly release, maybe.
See, I understand. The thing is, we called it. I understand why they did it yearly because they had, like, was it 2 studios? So they basically had 2 years each studio. But even if it took an extra year,
you had Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer.
I thought Sledgehammer worked in tandem with them, or that they actually got their own releases.
On here, you got Call of Duty 1 and 2 were done by Infinity Ward. 3 was then Treyarch. 4 was Infinity Ward again. World at War was Treyarch. Obviously, Warfare 2 was again Infinity Ward. Then Treyarch again. Infinity Ward then worked with Sledgehammer on Modern Warfare 3. Treyarch then did Black Ops 2. Infinity Ward then did Ghost. Sledgehammer then did Advanced Warfare. Treyarch did Black Ops. It's basically the ones that had Warfare in are basically the Modern Warfare, Infinite Warfare. That was all Infinity Ward. Treyarch mainly covered like the Black Ops, and then Sledgehammer seems to do the ones that weren't like heavily related to the other ones, like Advanced Warfare, World War 2, Vanguard. They were basically doing. They were kind of doing the ones that were like really far in the past, and then really far like in the future at the same time. But obviously, Infinity Ward stuck with the Modern Warfare type titles, whereas I said Treyarch stuck with the Call of Duty Black Ops titles, and they obviously in between. Obviously, fucking Sledgehammer just did all the World War ones and that. So there's 3 studios working on it. The next one that's this year is apparently Infinity Ward.
Yeah, I hope that they're actually sticking to what they say, because obviously with taking like the break is going to be helpful. But then he also came out and admitted to, like, in Warzone that it meant to be like a little side game. I wasn't expecting it to be as big as it was, and they basically admitted that they fucked up with the coding, that it's hard to fix and everything. That's why apparently they're making Warzone 2 basically. And they said, well, that's going to be like separate from all the other games, not like how Warzone was basically built off the latest Modern Warfare engine. Like, he basically built straight off the game. Yeah. So I hope they just go in the right direction, because I've always been a Call of Duty fan. I mean, since fucking Call of Duty Modern Warfare the first one, I played it, so it's just, I just want that thing. I mean, I didn't buy Vanguard.
You got it for free.
I got it free, yeah. I wasn't going to fucking buy it. It's just, I mean, even playing now, it's alright to fuck about him, but if I paid 60 quid for that game, I'd be so disappointed, like. But even Cold War, obviously, I wasn't going to buy it until I saw the zombies. And I was like, okay, that's the only reason I want it, is zombies. Like, they have such a big thing with zombies. Like, if they release just a single player fucking zombies experience, like just a game focused on zombies, might be actually good.
I only brought that one because you were like, hey, we should play it, and I brought it.
I think the multiplayer was.
I'd say the multiplayer was alright. I mean, when I wasn't in games with you, when I was by myself, and you put me in actual lobbies of idiots of my caliber, I was really good. I mean, I got fucking on the best kill streak, pop up on the screen during the half time, and that I was really happy with that. And the campaign was iffy. It was a bit different how they layered it in terms of how you actually approach like the missions. Like, it was on mission boards.
Multiple choice.
was like mission boards and whatnot, which was weird, which is a bit different to how it normally is.
I
But
heard the story was meant to be quite good in Cold War. I thought
and say
apparently
it was
meant to be like
alright to
one of
be
the better
fair.
ones.
I just never finished it. I got to the last mission and never finished it.
I know Vanguard's story is meant to be absolutely dreadful. Then again, the zombies is dreadful. They've totally gone away from what zombies was. It's not even round based. It's like missions and zombies stuff.
Right,
They changed a lot of
it
things.
is Sledgehammer. I mean, Sledgehammer's the one who did that weird Advanced Warfare exosuit
Yeah, but
zombie one.
from what I was reading, was that Treyarch did the zombies for this for Vanguard. It was they Sledgehammer, whatever it was, did all the multiplayer, and then they did the zombies in tandem with them. So I don't know what to. I don't know what sources.
See what for me would work better realistically. Let's say the 2-year gap or even a 3-year gap between the games, so they can get like the content, like put content into the multiplayer aspects. So realistically, think about it. Say release one this year. I feel like they could then wait till, obviously they are going to because they're not releasing one next year, but they could wait till 2024, maybe in 2025, and put so much more stuff into the multiplayer to keep people sticking around in between to play that aspect of it. Maybe even for like a DLC to expand the story a bit. So I mean, if you think about it, like something like Ghost, that ended on a cliffhanger, ready for a sequel. That's never getting a sequel.
Yeah,
they could have thrown a DLC out just to finish the fucking story. Because it's always the point of now. It's like I really want to know what's going to happen after this, and it's not going to have it happen. Because I'm someone who actually supported Ghost. I really like that game, and I'm never going to find out what actually happened to the main character in the end because he got kidnapped, and that's it. Game over. No sequel. Like they could put a little expansion out. Like we're doing Valhalla. Put a little expansion out. They don't have to do another fucking game. They just need to expand the story a little bit. Done. Couple extra missions. There you go. Fucking 20 quid. It's about fucking 5 hours worth. Plus there's some extra shit for the multiplayer in there. There you go. That's what they could do. They could always literally, because as I say, looking at it here, Modern Warfare 3, Infinity War and Sledgehammer did that together. Why can't two of the studios work together and then one do it by themselves?
So I don't understand why they can't release this new one that's coming out, because obviously they've already said it has to come out. They've already planned it all to come out at the end of this year, or whatever.
Yeah, Infinity
release
War 2,
it, and then just get all 3 studios on one game.
Yeah.
So you got the zombies team; they work on the zombies. You got a multiplayer team that work on multiplayer, and then you got fucking Sledgehammer, whatever. Just because Sledgehammer are normally like the IT kind of guys like fixing all the problems. So why can't they just go into all that? It just seems stupid.
So you can literally have a studio per part of it. Like you can have one working on the story, one working on the multiplayer, one working on the fucking zombies. They all work on the same engine, but they all just build it up differently, and they can all come together and working on like the aspects of stuff like, what story do we want to follow in the main like single player aspect? All throwing these ideas. Oh, what sort of ideas we're going for with the zombies? All come together. Oh, let's do this, and they could do it like that, or even just like 2 of them work together. Just push 2 together into working on one. Like as I said, they've done with obviously Modern Warfare 3, which I say Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer, and then Black Ops Cold War and Warzone was done by Infinity Ward and Raven Software, and Raven Software and Treyarch did Cold War. Like put 2 of them together, like put Sledgehammer and fucking Treyarch together. Because I mean, the Modern Warfare games are way bigger than the Black Ops games. So let Infinity Ward just do their own thing and let fucking obviously the other 2 studios just work on anything else.
I always thought Black Ops and Modern Warfare very close. I always thought it was like Infinite Warfare and stuff like this. The side S new titles that were really bad.
See, I think it was. See, I think the Modern Warfare trilogy, the original trilogy, obviously is probably higher regarded than Black Ops. Yeah. I mean, in terms of Black Ops, only the first 2, realistic for me, were any fucking good.
1 and 2 are the best. 3 was
3 had 3 had an interesting idea in terms of the fact that you could create your own custom character and whatnot, but it was just compared to the other 2, it was like, what the fuck's this game? Then 4 just got rid of single player; it was just all multiplayer, so that was a big cock up there, especially with the fan base that had this full single player, and they're like, whoa, where's my single player? You lost a fucking bunch of sales here, and obviously then Cold War was the brand new one after that. So I do feel like in my own personal opinion, Modern Warfare is a bigger thing. There's even the fucking when they did the 2019 remake one, the one that was the new one. Even that is, for me, was obviously better than most of the fucking later Black Ops games. So I feel like personally the Infinity Ward's Modern Warfare saga, apart from obviously their fucking the fucking Infinity Warfare, which is dog shit. Jon Snow trying to kill me.
It was like obviously when that came out and you got the remake with it because you had to buy the deluxe edition. You got it with it. I played the remake more than I did that. I must have put about 10 hours into Advanced Warfare, whatever it was.
Yeah,
was it Advanced Warfare?
Infinity Warfare. Advanced Warfare was the one with the exosuits.
And then I put like 60 to 100 hours in the remake compared to that. And it's like why am I playing a game that's just a remake of an older game online and enjoying it more than the new title? You think the new title should be like the one that you're like, oh, this is really fun. I want to go to. It's not the old one.
See, that's the thing. I didn't buy the deluxe one, so I just bought. I didn't even buy the game. I go for Christmas. So I had the basic bitch version, just the normal game, and I finished the story and everything. And I just thought it was a bit pants, and that was Infinity Ward's big fuck up in my opinion, because I can't really fault the original Modern Warfare trilogy. That's a really good trilogy. Personally, I really like Ghosts. I know a lot of people hated it, but I like Ghosts. Obviously, then they did the 2019.
Everyone hated that. So
obviously, then they did obviously Modern Warfare in 2019, and then obviously they got the new one coming out this year. So I can't really 5 out of 6 games I like. So that's a good bit there for that studio. Whereas if you look at it, Treyarch, obviously they said they did Black Ops. I like the first 2, and I liked Cold War to an extent. So that's what 3 out of fucking 5 games is that there they've done. 3 out of 5 games they've done that I like. So it's not even like, but both studios. There's literally one less game I like there. Cold War again, as I said, to an extent I liked, but I didn't like it as much as the first 2 Black Ops games. So 2.5 basically, say out of 5. That's not the greatest there. And obviously Sledgehammer, Vanguard, World War 2, Advanced Warfare. I'm not really going to count Modern Warfare 3 because they did work on it with them, but I'm not going to count it. They've done 3 games. I liked Advanced Warfare. I really liked that, especially the story. World War 2 I thought was alright. It was obviously a much better game than Infinity Warfare was, but it was alright. And obviously I've skipped Vanguard, but as you say, as you've heard from you and obviously other reviews, it's not the greatest game. So Sledgehammer seems to be the weakest of the studios, realistically. So realistically, why don't you just combine them with one of the ones that are doing good, like Treyarch, and have them work together, or even put them with Infinity Ward, since obviously they've worked with them before.
The only good thing about Sledgehammer is they seem to make changes, like balance of changes, or like the actually go into the game, like, okay, we found this, we'll change this. Whereas like I've seen, like, if you go to older Call of Duties, like how many bugs and that actually got fixed? Probably none, because they're just focusing on a new game. It's like, oh, you can get inside a wall and just stay there. Yeah, fuck it, leave it in there. Like, so
there's just so much they could do with that franchise if they fucking had gaps in between releases of not a year basis, and kind of didn't have 3 studios working on fucking different IP. See, I don't mind that idea, because it is the idea of, oh, why one's working on this one, the other one could get going on the next one. But if that's the case, why is that not better than the last one? Because surely they've had more time to work on this one. So, for example, let's look at okay, so Infinity War did Ghosts. So the next one after that was Infinite Warfare. There was 2 games in between that. So if they released Ghosts in 2013, had someone working on the DLC, the patches and whatnot, realistically, they could have probably gone into development late 2014 for that, maybe even before that. But they could have had all this in mind. Most companies, even if you look at movies, they have ideas for the next one while they're fucking working on this one. Like, even when they're fucking like just writing out the story for a film, they usually got the sequel already writing out at the same time, so they've got it ready to go. So they've already got these mental aspects ready before they've even fucking finished doing this. So surely they would have had all this stuff in mind before. So I mean, why was Infinity Warfare worse than Ghosts, whereas Ghosts was pretty much panned anyway? So how is that worse than that? You know what I mean?
Like I said, I think it's just that with any game that comes out on this yearly basis, it's like to have this mega rush to try and get out, and it's fine. You see it when it's rushed, like Call of Duty, for example. We've been talking about it. You see it when it's rushed. Assassin's Creed, it was fine at first. It's like you had the 1, 2, 3, and then it started to fall off, and it's just getting progressively worse because it's like,
See, I don't think. I
why
don't
bring them
think.
out in this big cycle?
See, I don't think with Assassin's Creed it fucked it heavily. Yeah, the basically a lot of the graphics were the exact same going into the next year and whatnot. But I don't have an Assassin's Creed game that I 100% hate.
No, I don't think it's done anything bad. I just don't think it did
Whereas Call of
enough to be
Duty,
different.
there's a lot of installments that I hate. So
Just for
yeah,
example, FIFA, like it does nothing wrong. It just doesn't change anything.
yeah, I
Like
agree with that aspect. But I mean, with something like Assassin's Creed, I didn't mind the yearly release, but I do think it's better the bigger gaps in between it because you're getting more content for a game. That's how I see it heavily. Is the yearly basis cuts off the fact that you can't get as much content. You only get basically minimum content into said game. Whereas if you've got a bigger gap, you're getting more content into that game or more play out of it before you have to get the next one. Whereas you say Call of Duty, it's just, oh, you've done this game. Oh, wait, here's the next one. Here's the next one.
I
Here's the next
feel
one.
like
FIFA the same. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. Here's the
yeah,
next one. And I say any sports game, they're the biggest like culprits of this. Oh, you barely yeah, you've been playing this game for a year. Here's the next one you want. It's the same game, but you're gonna pay another 70 quid, 80 quid here for this one. Here's the next one. Same year after year after year after. Whereas
see, this is
the
as
games
well.
back in
Is
the
like
days, it wasn't a problem because the prices of games weren't that bad back in the day. You can get a game for like 40 quid, less than that even. But now you're paying like ridiculous fucking 70 quid plus.
it's one of the things where it's like it's alright with saying like, oh, they should release it, even the 2 year gap or whatever. But then you got games like Cyberpunk when it released to shit because even though they'd worked on it for so many years, the fucking management team made them push it out really fast. It's like if you've got a game or you've even a movie, any form of media, why put something out that's half-assed rather than taking your time to perfect it before it releases? Like, fair enough, you can have a game comes out and it's got a few bugs, but not to the extent where it comes out and it's just dog shit.
I was gonna say,
I think
Horizon come out and it had a few bugs, and I've seen a few bugs that I've been like, it's a bit dicey that bug is, but it's nothing game breaking. It's nothing that's make me go, oh, this game's fucking awful. Why am I even bothering to play this game? Whereas you looked at Cyberpunk, yeah, I didn't have any glitches when I played it because I only played like an hour of it, so there was that aspect for it to me. But I mean, it come out and was a big flop. Give it another a couple of months, and you'll probably fix most of the things to make it run enough to come out. Because that's the thing, you need it to at least run and not game break. Like, yeah, you can have a couple of glitches here and there, but that's fine. That's something you can fix in patches. That's the thing. That's what with Cyberpunk, it was. I think what fucked with that heavily was the fact there was so many delays. Like, it was delayed. It was multiple times before up to that December release date anyway. So it's the case of why the fuck wasn't it near enough close to perfection when it came out?
or even if they just said, look, we're going to delay it, we're not going to give a date, we're just going to do it until it's done. Same as going back to EA, the new Battlefield. How many years has that had from the last one? And it released, and it was atrocious. Like I couldn't even run it on my computer. Like I don't understand how it could run so bad. I had it in the lowest settings, and it was choppy as fuck. Like
if it fucking loads. The last Battlefield game for the new one was Battlefield 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
3 years.
But even Battlefield 5 did bad, and that still has more players on it now than the new Battlefield. That's how bad the new one is. And it's just like they're trying to like brush it under the carpet, like for example when they said about Halo had that surprise release.
Oh yeah, when I told you that, when I said that to you, that
and now they're trying to go back
Halo.
and saying there was like, oh, we never said that, and there's like people literally have an interview, like we have like things of you saying this, like how can you not say it's true? It's like it's stupid.
That's
it's
the thing.
like
yearly base is heavily on the studio. They want this out next year. They want it straight away. So obviously the studios are heavily at fault for a lot of the things because they've push heavily to get something done. But it's still the case of, what's the point in yearly releases? There's no point in it at all. There's just no point.
I think from our point as a consumer, it's bad practice because like we're getting a shit game. But let's say, for example, you own the Call of Duty franchise and you released a Call of Duty game and that got you 1.5 million in sales. Obviously, I know they get way more.
Yeah.
And then you could release the next one 2 years later and get 1.5 million again, or you could release two within that time and get 750,000 sales on each game. So you'd earn more. Like you still earn more. That's the problem. Is like I think they see it from that point of view, and I think until the gaming industry changes,
that is literally the issue. Is that's all they look at is the money aspect of. They don't look at the players wanting an actual game that runs perfectly, works great, is such an entertaining blast. They just look at it for the fact that we can get money off 2 games here, rather than just waiting and getting off this. But I still think you get money off it, even if you fucking just put loads of DLC out instead. Literally, I think the 2-year gap's the best. Release the game. Following year, put loads of DLC, put a lot of effort into getting it out, and then having the game the year after. Because that's where, like, Call of Duty, they could have 2 studios or 3 studios heavily involved. They could literally have one studio heavily working on the game, one studio heavily working on DLC, while the other one's working on the next game after. And then once obviously they finish with the game, they're working on DLC. That game, when you start working on the game there, can then move on to, say for example, the DLC for the next game, while the ones who did the DLC could then work on the next game after that, and keep rotating. That for me makes a bit more sense than how most games are released nowadays, specifically Call of Duty and the sports-based games.
You know what? I think all in all, we should just start buying more indie games from developers that actually care about the title. Because I feel like indie games lately have been just excelling. I mean, look at stuff like Hades and like
Kino.
Encryption. And anything, indie games have that little studio. They're not pressured by big corporations telling them to release it, and they're just a little constant updates just to keep it fresh. Like, I think indie games are just going the right way. I mean, you've seen like Valheim, how well that sold for an indie game, because it's actually good. It's people sitting down and putting care into a game. So
basically, what we're saying is, fuck studios for yearly releases.
Yeah,
because it's just.
But it's like God of War. How well God of War did. They could have put a DLC, but they didn't. Right, that way,
2018
new title.
And it's what 1920.
They could have fucking
4 years between the games.
In a year, they could have rushed the game out in a year, and it would have sold well just because the new God of War sold so well.
They could literally just rush out the same everything aspect of it, like as you said, Assassin's Creed used to just rush out the exact same, so it looks the exact same, but it's with a new story. They could have done that within a year or a year and a half, but they didn't. They're like, okay, no, we want to get people's attention. We want them to be like hyped for this, which is why I think people were hyped for Arceus, was for the fact that you just have the remakes, but that doesn't count. It's something different. And it's been a couple of years since the last game. You draw hype in that way rather than just churning it out. Whereas it works the same with the movie industry. I mean, churning out the same like named film like very quickly within 2 or so years, it's not going to get as much hype. Whereas you look at for example, Star Wars. How many years was it between fucking Revenge of the Sith and Force Awakens? And look how well Force Awakens did. I think Revenge of the Sith was what 2000 and I want to say was it 5, 6, something like that. It was like mid like 2010, 2000s, wasn't it? Sorry. And then Force Awakens was what, 2016, was it? So like a good 10 years later. And it made like over $1 billion. And then this trilogy in general have made like $1 billion each. Yeah, the trilogy sucked, but it's made $1 billion. And they've still catered to everyone's needs. I mean, they catered to the critics' needs with Last Jedi, but they catered to a lot more of the fan base needs for Rise of Skywalker. So they catered to everyone's aspect, but it just was a mess of a trilogy. But it's like, if you look at Marvel, they're churning out the same sort of types of films each time, but it still feels different each time, and it's the films aren't terrible. They still are really good films to watch. Yeah, you might have like a a Spider-Man film in, when was the Homecoming? Homecoming was 2017, 16, 17, I think it was. Then it was 2 years later when we had Far From Home. Then it was 2 years later we had No Way Home. There's this 2 year gap between them, and after each one, their last property is drawn hype to the next one. Because like with No Way Home, that's now drawing hype to Doctor Strange. So that it's all intertwined enough for it to draw hype to the next one. Whereas you look at some like the Call of Duty games, they're not heavily linked, so it's not going to draw hype onwards. The only ones that were like the hype wise would be like the Modern Warfare trilogy. If they said you did Modern Warfare 2, and then they're like, okay, Modern Warfare 3 is going to be out in like about another 3-4 years, and you've seen the ending of 2, and you're like, okay, where are we going to go from here? How's this story going to continue? That draws the hype in. Same goes for Black Ops. Black Ops 1 ends. Oh, we're doing Black Ops 2 in a couple of years. Okay, how's this going to happen? But how they're doing it now with like the not interconnected ones, they're not like hyping you in as more. Whereas Assassin's Creed, even on the yearly, when obviously they're doing the yearly basis, there was still the intertwining of the outer world story, which made people go, okay, how's this going to work to connect to the next one and stuff like that. But obviously now there's a bit more hype with this more gap, especially between Odyssey and Valhalla. Yeah, it looks pretty much the same type of game, but it's an entirely new setting. There's new everything aspects to it, and there's new story in general. So how is this connected to the last game? So there is that hype there with the connections, whereas Call of Duty and that doesn't have a connection. Like even Pokemon, there's not really a connection between games, is there?
It's just like, oh, this region exists. You're never going to see it in this game.
But that's the thing. Where the hype with that comes from is that their couple of year gap between is the fact that, oh, we haven't had a good one for a couple of years. Oh, we'll get the next one. But for me, I've lost the hype with the fact that how close proximity these games are at the moment is just ridiculously too close for me.
Like I say, it's going to be built on the same engine. You can see from the trailer, it's so similar to Arceus, like playstyle. So it's not like people can say, for example, in Pokemon Ranger, we mentioned it earlier, that was totally different game. That made its own little franchise kind of thing. Like, it was totally different. Obviously, it's a bit of a gimmicky game with the fucking spinning, but it was good, it was fun. Whereas the new one, which apparently is like mainline game, which is why everyone's defending it, they're like, oh yeah, it's a mainline game, but it's got the same aspects of Arceus, so they've just took Arceus and been like, let's just make it into a new main title. Like, just you can't do that. I just think it's a bit dodgy. Like I said, the title of this fucking podcast should be we rant about Nintendo, Ubisoft, EA.
No, it's just screw yearly releases. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Screw the studios. Studios are the problem.
Hashtag support indie developers.
That's why I got rid of my studio name. I realised it was consuming me too much.
Releasing a video every goddamn day.
But I'm still doing that. No. Yeah, I feel like I've run out of steam now in my terms of my ranting. We've gone back to Pokemon. Yeah. I feel like I've run my course of like this.
Need to refuel after more runs.
Oh, yeah. So we're gonna move on to news. Hold on, let me get my notes up because I did write a couple of notes down.
Oh, I did have some news. Obviously, my news is probably going to be about Elden Ring as usual. Someone beat the game in 2.5 hours without dying, like main story. And then apparently someone beat it in under an hour. Totally, I don't know how they've done it, I haven't seen it yet, but I think they totally just like glitched it somehow and just fucking managed to get all the way to the end like really early. So
fucking hell.
But fucking insane.
I got a few news things actually I want to go through. So obviously Batman became like the fourth. Actually, I think it might have changed now because its money's gone up. Last time I saw it was the fourth highest grossing movie of this year. I think actually it might have gone up now because its money has gone up to like $269 million, which is like the second biggest R-rated movie, I think, or second biggest opening in terms of. Hold on, give me a sec. I'll look at the actual stat, rather than just coming up with bollocks at my arse. Okay. No, it's still currently is. It's a couple of $1 million off Uncharted. It's the fourth highest grossing movie of the year. But I swear it's like another thing where it's like the something to do with like, its R rating, like in terms of release. Let's have a look at reception, box office. Where are you? No, I can't find it. I swear I'd like another stat where it's like also like massively like a big deal somewhere. I can't find it. It's gone. It's gone. But yeah, it's like the fourth highest like grossing movie of the year so far. As I said, the only ones above it is Uncharted by a couple of million, but it's gonna beat that in the next fucking so long. And then like 2 Chinese films, I think. Sticking with the Batman. According to the director, obviously, I think he was on like some podcast or something recently. Obviously, they're doing spin-offs, aren't they? They're doing like TV series spin-offs. Apparently, the Gotham PD spin-offs kind of been benched by the studio. Again, coming back to the studio here, they were like, yeah, we don't do a show based on like, the heavily like, the main character being like corrupt and whatnot. And apparently they had a really good idea and they just benched it. So instead they're now working on like morphed into like an Arkham Asylum series, like something to do with Arkham.
Oh yeah.
That should be interesting. Obviously apparently Amazon are eyeing a God of War TV series.
Yeah, I saw that.
Trying to get the rights to make God of War into a TV show. Which to be fair, Amazon usually have a good budget behind their fucking stuff, so I mean, I feel like if Lord of the Rings comes out and it's like a really big fucking massive success, I'd be happy enough to see Amazon have a crack at God of War. I feel like they'd do a good job if that comes out to a good extent. Sticking with gaming TV series, apparently, obviously, no Halo comes out this month in America at least. I don't know when it's fucking even due out over here. Obviously, Spielberg obviously was executive producer on it, but apparently he had like a lot of influence in it. Like, he wasn't just someone who sat back and let stuff go on. He actually had a lot more say in how the show was working. So, yeah, it was not as if he's just, like, the producer's, like, just got his name stapled on it. Just to get them to go, oh, sweet, let's have a look at this. He's actually, like, just like he did with Jurassic World, he was there actually saying more to get stuff done right. Which is pretty cool, I thought. Also a TV series, but movie news. Apparently, Blade might make his MCU debut in Way Off by Night, the new Disney Plus Halloween special that's going to come out this year, I think it is.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's already debuted in, spoiler alert, Eternals, his voice. During an end credit scene, he appeared behind Black Knight, and everyone was like, oh, there's Blade! But apparently, he might make his in-person debut before the Blade movie within this Halloween special, which makes sense because it's a Halloween special.
Yeah.
So that'd be quite cool if you're there sitting watching Disney Plus and he pops up and you're like, oh shit!
Blue.
It's not on my notes, but obviously Obi-Wan, we watched it.
Yeah.
They dropped the teaser trailer for the new series, which looks fucking really cool.
Like
you got the Grand I did fucking Grand Inquisitor, I think his name is, the bald guy, played by Rupert Friend or Fiend, whatever his fucking last name is. He was quite funny in that Death of Stalin film. He was also the guy who played Hitman Agent 47, which brings me back to gaming news there. Because he played Hitman in the movie. But obviously, that was really cool. And they even had the fucking Duel of Fate song, which was fucking sick. The other day, AMC announced they're doing like another Walking Dead spin-off show after the main series ends. Like, spin off for another two, like their popular characters. But it's going to be set in New York, called Isle of the Dead. It's coming out next year, actually. So even though the main series ending, they've already got 2 fucking spin-offs based on characters within the shows going ahead, and all the other stuff that's already still happening in the movies and whatnot. So it's the case of now, like, where's this actually being set in the timeline? Because the timeline just jumps so much over the past few years. It's like ridiculous. Like, but from the death of Rick to like where the new series is at, it's like fucking years. It's such a big like time jump. So it's like this idea of where these shows actually be set. Are they going to be set somewhere within like these time frames or what? So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. And lastly, which is my gaming news, obviously WWE 2K22 comes out this week. And it's
And
actually
you're
the early reviews are actually really good.
I just want to see MGK get smashed in the face. So
you just
so
don't want me to make your character and just have him smash him around, don't you?
so,
I mean, apparently the early reviews are saying it's actually such a good. Obviously, it's going to be such a good improvement of the last one. They've had so much time to actually work on this game. It's been fucking years. But I mean, apparently it's actually meant to be pretty decent. The mixed feelings I have though, apparently 2K might not be doing it anymore. EA might be doing the next ones. Apparently WWE are in talks with EA, maybe about them taking over. So I got mixed feelings there because how FIFA's been fucked. But then again, 2K aren't that like innocent either because of obviously all their sports games that they melt the fuck out of. It's a weird feeling, but yeah, apparently I'm assuming like this split has got to be just to do how bad 2K20 did. It's got to be like linked to that. They've got to let them. I'm assuming they've. To be fair, I reckon I might see how the sales do on this one, how like, the response is heavily before they decide after that. But I feel like it's got to be just how bad that one did. They're like, okay, fix this mess, and then you're done. That's it, game over. But yeah,
so hopefully as well, then sticks with him because EA is fucking killing games at front and center.
I mean, EA and 2K are two of the worst ones for microtransactions, just like Ubisoft. So either way, I feel like they're fucked both ways. So that's the issue there. Yeah, that's all my news. That's all what I've written down. I've run out.
Okay, but news. I haven't got a lot of news. The only other news I got is that the original Dying Light got apparently like a free upgrade to next gen. So
that's alright.
So anything other than that, fuck knows.
Okay then. I think you've heard us ranting enough for today. So, I mean, we this is probably our biggest rant we've ever done in terms of like slapping it out of something. I mean, we usually have discussions, but I feel like this is like the first time we've like fully just like got a baseball bat and just caved in someone's skull. So yeah, any questions or anything? Put them in the comments below. Obviously, your thoughts on the yearly releasing of gaming content in terms of obviously games just coming out on a yearly basis. Your thoughts on if you like that idea, or if you like the idea of them actually giving us a couple of year gaps to put effort into games and give us extra content like DLC. So just put all that, your thoughts in the comments, we'll read them.
People type in Pokemon Arceus was a spin-off game. The new one is a mainline game. It doesn't have anything to do with Arceus.
Right, Alex, calm down.
Could have waited a year, it'd be fine.
Calm down there, Alex. But yeah, put them in the comments and we'll have a gander. But yeah, that's just everything. So Connor, you got one more next week, and then you get a week off.
Yeah, it's like work.
Pretty much. So yeah, yeah.
Peace out. Subscribe. Follow.
I'm literally that light breath, but just because of this not shutting up this rant that I just can't think of words to say anymore.
You need for like little like EA in the corner. Ubisoft, Nintendo, MGK.
I've been drinking Thomas Hughes. He's been Mr. Zenith Connor O'Shea.
Yeah.
And this has been the Chatter Cave podcast. So
peace out.
Check us out on Spotify and that as well. It's also these podcasts are on there.
Yeah.
And iTunes. You know, the usual shit.
It's on everything.
It's on everything. Just check it out wherever. It's very much appreciated.
It's on your pregnancy test. Go and check your pregnancy test on there. Right.
It's very much appreciated wherever you check this out. So we'll see you next time.
Right. Peace out, man.
Bye.